welcome everybody to Grid Talk Tuesday. As always, my name is Caleb Viesca, and today we're going to be reviewing everything that happened at the IAME Grand National Championships and a couple of extra stuff as well. But for those of you joining us here on this Tuesday night, we thank you very much, and we hope to see more of you guys come in as well. But we'll jump right into the show, to say the least. My partner in crime this weekend was the one and only Alexander Searle, and we were bringing you guys all the trackside action and everything that was going on as well. Alex, it was a long weekend, we should say. It was a 3-day event. We flew in on that Thursday afternoon, and just walk me through how you felt like the IAME Grands went this year.
Oh, they went awesome. It was a long event, like you said. We got there on a Thursday, and how cool is it to go night racing once again? We never really get to
Yeah,
do it much, just because either go-kart tracks don't have lights available to us, or just it's one of those things where people like to get out there, you know, on the Sunday night. And if we do night racing, we have to do it. Stars does, which will be there in 2 weeks, to do a night racing on the Saturday. So I love going night racing, especially at Trackhouse Motorplex. And then IAME Grands is one of the coolest events that we have all year long. There's a reason why it's one of the marquee events that brings in names like Kai Hunter over here overseas to come out here and run every once in a while, because a lot of money on the line. Not only is it just bragging rights to go out there and say you're a Grandmaster champion one time a year, money, and that's one of the biggest things that we've seen here in the States that we do, I think, better than most other series and
yeah,
places around the world for karting. So
correct.
super proud of Eric Jones, the entire IAME crew, and the Grandmaster as a whole. It continues to get bigger. It continues to be just such an awesome show, and I think the racing definitely on Sunday, especially, proved to be awesome.
Yeah, so very, very well said. It was a great event, to say the least. And secondly, here are I guess to end up with this intro here. This weekend, one of our very own co-hosts definitely had a great weekend, and he was also your KA100 Senior Fan Vote winner. Without further ado, Emory Lida joining us on the show as always. Emory, what a weekend for you, man. And it looks like it was a good one to be a fan favorite as well.
Yeah, first off, huge shout out to the Kart Chaser crew that most definitely rigged the fan vote. Shout
Definitely not.
out, shout, shout out,
Before you proceed, there will be misconceptions of this. I think there's already been misconceptions. Emory has a big following on Facebook, shared it out with friends and family, and he has a big family, so the entire family did it. In no way did any of us. I mean, I voted for you, obviously, because you're, a good friend of mine, and we wanted to see you in. But in no way was it rigged. Aiden Levy won the first one. Emory was second up, so he was obviously the second one voted in. Do not be saying stuff like that, Emory, because that's very not
Yeah, no,
true.
we actually we made sure that
Yeah,
without our votes, you still would have won.
we
yeah.
could we couldn't believe it,
Well,
but it happened.
well, the second part of that is, I might not have a career in racing, but I definitely have a career in politics if I want it, because we spent some hours on the phone on Friday after my poor qualifying effort, making sure that I could get the fan vote at least, and it worked out. Friday night, I think in the rain, we did pretty well up until the final. We started the final P5. We had good pace in the two heats, and then throttle cable broke in the shootout. So that was a lot of fun. And then the rest of the weekend, up and down, like any race this year. We struggled a bit for pace at times. We were good on Sunday. We got taken out right before the red flag, and then drove from 35th to 17th. So it was a good weekend. There was a lot of positives to take away from it. Can't thank the Ryan Perry Motorsports people enough for that. Ryan for the opportunity, and my dad, as always, for tuning the wrenches. And hey, we got some good content out of it. Kyle made the sick fan vote graphic. People seem to support me at the race. I really appreciate all the people that voted for me. And hey, P17 in the first half of the pack. Not as good as our first guest, but we tried our best, and we had a good weekend.
Yeah, no, for sure. You had a good one as well. And with that being said, that's how our weekends pretty much went. It was good. It was fun, and we all had a good time. But we'll dive into the show with setting the grid here really quickly. The United States Pro Kart Series took to their social medias this weekend to announce that Road America was back on the schedule here next year. So we're going to return to the Briggs and Stratton Motorplex next year on June 25 and 29th. I believe, sorry, 26th to the 29th. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that is the third round of the season. So that's going to be exciting. Boys, any thoughts?
It's the third time or the fourth, excuse me, that USPKS is going to Road America, and I think that the previous have all had some memorable moments. So, I'm I'm excited to see it happen again, and I think Road America is one of the best tracks that we could go to.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most underrated tracks as well. It's phenomenal. Besides the fact that it's literally inside of Road America, which is probably one of the best car tracks that you can go to in the country. But as a go kart track, you can't beat the elevation change. You can't beat the overall layout and the options of layouts that you have. You can just see it on your screen right now. But I think this racetrack as a whole, it races phenomenally. Always puts on a pretty good show, and I'm glad that we're going back.
Yeah, everybody's going to be super excited to go back to Road America. Whenever they did go a couple of years ago, it was a great event, and we're excited to see it again. And then, secondly, in our last slide here in setting the grid, the Cup Karts North America Grand National 8, I should say. The registration was open to the general public a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was pretty cool what they did. The entire CKNA team opening it up to drivers who had been to one prior CKNA event on the year, and then they opened it up to the general public later on. So I really think that was a great strategy going into it to, prioritize the customers that have been supporting the series throughout the year. But already 500 entries, if I'm not mistaken here. The two marquee classes, senior light and senior medium, are already booked. And I'm not sure if there's going to be any extensions, but that was crazy to see, boys. What are your thoughts? We'll start with Alex first here, who has raced this event in the past.
Can't hear.
Yeah, Alex, can't hear you, my guy.
Okay, I don't know how that happened, but somehow my wire unplugged. But anyways, it seems like every single year that we go to this event, it's the entries go up, and not only do they go up, but how fast it fills up tends to increase. How quickly it happens, and this year was. I know one of our KC crew guys, Jerry Fandry, you guys probably know,
Yeah.
has been doing the TSRS stuff, and he actually missed out on entering this race because of how fast it filled up. He was working with us this weekend at the IAME Grand National, so for 4 of the days that it was open, he couldn't enter,
Yeah.
and then he went to finally go enter, and he missed it because it all filled up. So hopefully you weren't, amongst the guys like Jerry Fandry who missed out on getting into the senior light class and all the classes that filled up. I think they're up to 96 now. Is that what it is for senior light,
Yeah.
Caleb?
It's capped out at 96.
Unreal.
Correct? Yeah.
Unreal. Congratulations to Cup Cars North America, by the way, and
Yeah.
Greg Jasperson and all the guys that make that happen, because it is one of the coolest events that we go to. The fact that we can cap out that many that quickly goes to show you the popularity and the rise of this series, and what they're capable of in the future if they continue to and want to expand on this series. But as a race as a whole, there's not many races that I can that we tune into and watch or be a part of and go out there and put a broadcast on that's more entertaining and provides more last lap battles than this event.
Yeah. Emory?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be outstanding to watch. Me every year. It feels like the CKNA Grands continues to grow. This year, again, as much as we've seen anyone, I still think there's a possibility we can expand it further than 96 entries. I know other people will disagree with that, but I think it's a really good opportunity for the sport. I like the idea that they did of prioritizing the drivers that had made an entry in one of their regional or national select events this year. And I mean, hey, like I said, there's unfortunate for Jerry that he couldn't get in. Unfortunate for Caleb, I think this year. I think we might be putting up the
I'm
helmet
not.
for this.
I'm not
Yeah.
racing, dude. My wrist isn't fully healed yet, so
Yeah.
it's not going to work out. I have finals the same week, so there's a lot of stuff that's not that it's just not going the right way for me to
It's
race this weekend.
yeah. So no Caleb, no Jerry, but I think this field's still going to be phenomenal, and I'm excited to see how CKNA Grands 8 goes. Again, over 500 entries already. It's only been 5 days since it opened up to the public, and I think it's going to continue to grow from there.
Yeah, well, that being said, we'll dive straight into our show. Your KA100 shootout winner, Pauly Massimino, is standing by. And yeah, welcome to the show. Pauly, it's been a while since you've been on a KC podcast platform. You were obviously a frequent member of KC Happy Hour, but man, it's good to have you back, to say the least. Dude, how was your weekend?
What's going on, everyone? No, I thought thought we had a great weekend. Definitely want a little bit more, but definitely happy with what we got.
Yeah, and that being said, Pauly, let's roll this clip. We showed it to you earlier on today, or earlier on before we started the show. But for those of you at home, Pauly started off again giving us some awesome content and an awesome interview as always. We know how good Pauly is and how entertaining he is, but I'll stop talking and I'll roll the clip here for those of you guys to watch.
Races. Are you smiling a little bit more now heading into the shootout?
Yeah, I'm smiling because we got no shot, so might as well just try and enjoy it.
All right, thank you, Pauly.
Thank you.
Hairpin, Dalton to the high side. Big break in the momentum now. Last turn, gap's too big. Pauly Massimino, he's a shootout winner again, this time in KA 100.
And it's crazy to think that those clips were about 10 to 15, 20 minutes apart. But round of applause for Pauly Massimino. He counted himself out, and in the end, he was able to get it done. Pauly, walk me through that race, I guess I should say, or that shootout as well. You were, nowhere to be found in the first couple of heats in Heat 1 and Heat 2. And then in the main event, you counted yourself out. You were having a good time laughing around with James, and then you come out on top and win the $4,000.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was very unexpected, especially throughout the warm up and the first 2 heats. I felt like we were way off. I don't know. You guys came and interviewed me after the first heat. You kind of asked me how it went, and I think I hit you with the I don't know, because there was no more go-karts behind me when I came in, so I thought that was pretty sad. I was definitely a little disappointed in that. I remember coming in, I was like, man, I think I gained a few spots, and then I look back and there's no one behind me, so I was like, wow. But yeah, even in the second heat, I felt like we made some changes, and still we were not even close. I think I was able to stay up front a little bit just because that's where I started. But even then, I still didn't feel like we were even close to having a shot. But I did notice when we were out there for the second heat, the track did dry up quite decently. So I was going to go slicks in the final regardless, just because I didn't have, there was no other choice for me. That was my only shot. Changed some things around. Brandon completely did something way different with the carburetor. I felt like we were kind of struggling on carburation. Changed the gear, and then obviously went from there. Started, I think, almost last again. And then, yeah, went all the way up to the front. Kart was on rails. Everything was perfect. What he did with the carburetor, he didn't tell me what he did, but whatever he did was perfect. The gearing was perfect. The air was perfect. So, yeah, was able to drive from the back, get to the front, and was able to get it done.
And I guess next here for me, what did you enjoy more, the $4,000 or the fact that the trophy could actually shoot some smoke in the air with the gun there?
Yeah, I mean, nobody really saw that besides, who else was there at the end of the day. But, yeah, it was cool. The trophy would put like little cap things in it, and it would shoot a little bit of smoke. So that was pretty cool. But obviously the money's good. But I enjoyed, doing it all as a team, and I really enjoyed doing the shootout and having everyone together, everybody working together. It kind of reminded me of like Charlotte this past year when we had a bunch of guys on my kart for the OKN, because it was at the end of the day, and it was super short in between sessions. So I thought it was cool. Just having the whole team together and have everybody working together. Obviously, having James in that was great. We had a little bit to compare off of, even though we were both horrible in the rain. But at least it wasn't just me. At least we both knew we were terrible. But yeah, that's what I enjoyed about it most, having everybody together and being able to come away with it at the end.
Yeah, and I guess lastly, before I open the floor up here to the boys, I know you and Brandon love going out and taking some, decompressing mid-weekend and maybe going gambling. Have you guys gone gambling since then with the $4,000 you guys won? I guess you were the second most winningest driver on the weekend. You won 6,500 total on the weekend.
6,750.
What was that?
6,750.
60. All right, 6,750 there. So, have you guys gone gambling with that money at all yet?
No, I told Eric if he rounded it up we would, but he didn't, so we didn't. But no, Brandon went home Monday after we ended up packing up on Monday because of the rain. So he went home after that, and we don't really gamble. That's not really our thing. So
yeah, all right. Who's in the room with you right now? I hear somebody's laughing in the background.
I was gonna be able to keep a straight face until he did that, but that's Aiden Hatcher, my mechanic.
Okay, all right. Well, good to hear. And with that being said, I'll open the floor up to the boys. I know we haven't talked to you in quite some time, I guess, on podcast platforms. It's good to have you here for the time that we do. So, boys, I'll let you guys take it away.
Yeah, Pauly. I mean, the shootout, obviously the first two heats didn't go as well, but once you get to the final, man, I mean, 15 laps was a drying track for everyone at that point. And like you mentioned, you started very far back in that race. I mean, we saw a lot of incidents in that one. We saw like Gafera and Kai Hunter get into it. How difficult was it to kind of keep yourself going forward in that sort of mindset, knowing that everyone's got that same $4,000 goal at the end of the race, and just the amount of shenanigans and kind of chaos that goes with a drying track and a shootout with $4,000 on the line?
I think it goes back to that thing of when, I thought I had no shot. So I kind of just tried to get the best start that I could. And I felt like I did. And then the first few laps, I was trying to pick off as much as I could. I saw Kaleb and Kai going at it. I saw their aftermath. I was able to get those spots. So that was good. But I mean, honestly, I was just kind of driving the track as hard as I could. I wasn't even thinking if it was wet or not. I was just sending it as hard as I could, like it was completely dry, like normal, because, for me, there was no other option. I didn't feel like, if I was only half sending it, I didn't think I was gonna be able to make my way all the way back up. So yeah, I mean, just driving it like a normal day.
On the same note as the KA side, we spoke with Kai Hunter after his main event victory, and he said, listen, he thought that KA, after driving it the first time in his entire career, was the hardest class to go out there and win. For a guy that's done most classes throughout his career, do you agree with that?
I definitely think the 4 cycle is probably the hardest thing to win. But besides that, yes, K is definitely hard to win. X30 is hard to win just because of But so K definitely is pretty hard to win. It's harder to pull away. It's harder to get everything right. You can have the fastest go-kart and you can still finish 10th. I mean, at one point in the final, I was up front, then I was up to 14 or down to 14th, then whatever, made my way back up, but you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, everybody's so close, especially at a track like GoPro. I mean, I feel like it's pretty hard, but at the same time, I feel like once you figure it out, I mean, you can't be much quicker than anyone, but you can also still hang around that front group with being 1 to 2 tenths off.
You mentioned, Jarvis Crack. Obviously, you and him are kind of a 1-2 combo in everywhere you go. In that shootout race, he did some carb reductions that you mentioned. Doesn't tell you what, but it clearly worked like magic. What's it like, you two under the tent working together? Are you always seeing eye to eye, or are you almost maybe without? You guys always seem like you're smiling with each other.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon and myself, we try to have a good time no matter what. I think sometimes maybe it hurts us, but honestly, I really don't think it does. I think he understands where I'm at. He knows, obviously I'm here to win and I'm doing everything I can, but we still need to have fun because, at the end of the day, it is just go-karting for me. Like I enjoy it. So I work so much now that when I go and race, I tell him like, I'm going to enjoy it. Like, obviously I want to win, but I'm here to enjoy it at the same time. So obviously him and I have been together for a long time, back with Doty the first time, and then we both went to Eric, and then we both came back to Doty, and then same thing with when Brandon did his deal. Now we're all together. So yeah, he definitely understands me. He's known me for so long, so I think the only person that knows me better than that with setup and stuff like that would probably be my dad. So we butt heads sometimes, but we usually just scream at each other for a minute and then we fool around the next. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that you mentioned that. I think over the past year and a half or past 2 years, your perspective in karting, and I think your position as well, has really changed. You started up your coaching and Pauly racing as well. Your merch is already lingering around the paddock, your hat as well. So I guess talk to me a little bit about that, Pauly. Here, you're obviously, I think a couple of years ago, you were looking, I guess, whenever I think somebody asked you on a podcast as well, where you saw yourself in 5 to 10 years, and you didn't know, and now you're doing all the coaching thing, and it seems to be going quite well for you. You're busy, and you have clients almost every day. So walk me through how that's been, and how your new perspective in karting has also changed a little bit.
Yeah, with having this this new way that I'm approaching everything, obviously I race a bunch, but I've kind of stepped away from more of, going and testing and stuff like that. I have what I do with my coaching stuff. I do all on track coaching and stuff like that. So it is pretty much every single day. This year has been the craziest year. I've been super busy nonstop. I'll go drive or fly to a race. Immediately that next Monday, I'm back at the track. I'll work Monday all the way through whatever Tuesday night or Wednesday or whatever it is, and fly immediately to the next race. So it's never ending. I enjoy it. It's something I love, so I do enjoy it. I enjoy helping the kids, try and help them develop their skills a little bit quicker, because I always thought, and I always think I wish I had that when I was younger. I think it would have excelled me a little bit quicker. But so yeah, I'm trying to teach that now. I'm trying to teach the proper ways to race. I know sometimes back then I used to lose my head and do some stupid stuff, even recently. But I try not to teach anyone that. Try to teach them the proper way. And new perspective on racing has been, try not to be so angry and just enjoy it, because it's going to come to an end. So even if you're not having the best day, try to take some positives away from it and bring it to the future.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I know that you've been around for a long time at this point. I mean, dating back even to the CMP days. But when you kind of got to junior, you won with Top Kart. You went to senior, you won you won at Supernats with Doty and KA. But along those lines, I mean, you've kind of had success at pretty much the last 8 years of your karting career. But at what point did it kind of like click for you, that transition to like, hey, going from kind of driving all the time, taking it like ultra seriously, to kind of looking more along the lines of coaching, building up the next generation, and kind of working in a field that wasn't necessarily just about driving yourself and more about helping others?
I think it was only, these past few years, once I started gaining results a little bit, even after like Supernats and stuff like that, obviously I think a little bit of luck was in that, like Vegas always is, but I didn't think that was at the point where I was ready. I think I ran X30 for a little bit, learned some more and more stuff, and then, Brandon was having me try and do some data stuff. So try looking at it, try reading it, which I knew how to do, but I wasn't fully confident in it yet. And then obviously when I was with Perry, with Speed, with all those guys, I always picked up on all these little different things that I feel like I brought to what I do now. And then even when I work for Brandon, at Stars and some other stuff like that. So definitely a few years ago, but even still, I mean, I'm always learning, even when I'm out there with the kids. Obviously, I know Trackhouse really well, but even still, sometimes they teach me stuff too. So it's always good for them, and I think it's always good for me too.
Pauly, this has been, I think, one of your best overall years to this point. You've had, like we mentioned, some great results throughout your career, but now, you've been doing double duty for most events, right? You've done some KA, you've done the 125 stuff in the OKN, you got the win at Charlotte. How would you rate your year to this point so far?
I think it's been a pretty solid year. I think there's been some races where I was expecting more. But I can't complain too much. Like I said, I'm enjoying it with my friends. I'm enjoying it with my family. My dad, he's usually working for me most of the time. Last weekend he wasn't. Some backstory to that, but we'll have him back at Stars. But I don't, honestly, the results are great. But as long as everybody's having a good time and we're not butting heads with anyone, I can't really complain too much about that. But I think this season's been great. We've been having good results. Obviously, this past weekend in Ohio, we had a good result, a P2. Even before that, we had some good results. Newcastle, we kind of missed it a little bit. But even when we were back in Ohio the first time, we were super fast, just kind of got wrecked in the final. But so I think we've been pretty consistent. We haven't been the guy that watch out for this guy. But we're always there when we need to be.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because I feel like, this year you've been super consistent, been a top 3, top 5 contender all year long. And I mean, you've also done, I feel like, a lot more racing this year. I know last year you were just coaching at Stars. Now you're actually racing with that entire deal that came together with Brandon, and how the schedule worked out as well. And Carblos as well coming on and providing you with the engine. So I guess talk to me a little bit about how it's been diving into the Stars thing, and getting the first win there, and how it's been racing so much this year, and trying to balance everything at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to balance everything. It has you working long nights and long days, but it all makes it worth it when you get results. So, yeah, with the Stars deal, at Charlotte, I had no intentions of racing OCAN this year. It just kind of came together that Friday when Carlos had someone back out. And then, he came up to us and he offered it to us, and we took it. And then obviously that first weekend we won right away. So now they wanted to keep going, and it was pretty hard to balance, after coaching all day, and now it's all right. Now you got to drive. And then even when I was driving, like I come in, I don't have time to look at my data. I don't have time to look at my video. I barely have time to talk about the go-kart, the setup. I have to go back and coach the rest of the kids that I didn't get to before I had to go out. So it definitely made it a little bit busier for the Stars races. Even the last 2 with the schedule change, I'm coaching in between, then I'm going out, coming back and finishing, and then, restarting. So it's definitely made it a little bit busier, but it's made it worth it. We've had good results. We've missed it a few times. We struggled with some different problems that not really in our control. But I feel like every track we've been to in that thing, we've been fast. The motor's been strong. We just kind of need to piece it all together, and hopefully we can do that in Mooresville and maybe win that championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it looks like you're in a really good shot for that championship as well. But on my end, I got one more question for you, Pauly. And you were mentioning kind of working with your dad the last few years and also kind of keeping it fun. But how special is it that he's been kind of along with you for the journey over the last however many years that you've been in karting, for over a decade? And kind of you've seen your growth in the sport, as well as kind of your role now, where it's kind of the hybrid between coaching and then also still having success in your own end.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been amazing. My dad is the one that introduced me into the sport. He got me started, and he's been there every step of the way. So he's always there to help. Even now, I'm 21, but if I ever needed something, he's always there to help me. He's there to guide me. Obviously, he has his own business, so he's been through stuff like that. So if I have any questions, he's the guy I go to. But even with him working for me throughout the years, it's been amazing. Obviously, we butt heads. I feel like everyone does, but at the end of the day, we leave the weekend and we're just glad we're both there doing it together. Just because, as you grow up, you move on with life, you start having kids, a family, and then, you don't see your parents as much. So trying to do this now with him, and in the past when we've done it together, I've appreciated it all the way through. Just because I know it's not a forever thing. And yeah, I don't regret it. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't have anybody else work on my stuff. If I could have him there every single time, every single day, I would. I think he's the best guy on the job for me. He knows me the best. He knows how to work on my cart the best. Even if I'm butting heads with Brandon, he'll just change something because he knows how it drives. So if he didn't want to do it right now, you guys probably wouldn't see me in karting anymore. I do it to spend time with him, as well, not all of it, but as much as, trying to win races and stuff like that. Half of it is because of spending that time with him.
Wow. Yeah, I think
Make me tear up over here,
I
man.
was gonna
Holy
say, I
crap,
think you
dude.
low-key brought a tear to my eye, dude. I think anybody who's watching, who's like has that sort of parent or maybe parents involved in them in the sport of karting can definitely attest to that 100%. I know
Yeah.
that's how I am with
Yeah.
my dad as well at the
Same here.
racetrack. So
This is also, guys, I feel like this is a very, mature Pauly Massimino over the past 2 years. This guy's, I don't even recognize the guy anymore, dude. Goodness gracious.
he's taking a turn.
Yeah. Wow.
there's no point of saying stuff I probably shouldn't, because nothing ever changes. So I even had my opinion about some stuff last week, but nothing happened, so it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just be yourself, and whatever.
Well, Paulie, I'm gonna end this off because you were in the green room when we kind of announced the Road America racetrack for USPKS, but I was just wondering from your end, we're seeing series start to push out, their schedules or partial schedules. Is there any racetrack that you'd love to see out there next year in any national event?
I would definitely love to go back to NOLA. NOLA's hands down top 3 favorite tracks. I was kind of messing around in the Discord with Stars when everybody was talking about it. I kept making jokes about NOLA, and people were talking about the hotels and just sleep on bourbon and stuff like that. So I was having a good time with it, but I would like to go back to NOLA. I really would. I do enjoy that track. Pittsburgh's another one. I know we went there for Rotax went there this year, and then CKNA went there, but it'd be cool.
I had a terrible time
back there.
Yeah.
I do like Road America, but I won't be racing USPKS next year, so it doesn't really matter for me. That's the plan right now, so I'm not planning on running USPKS next year. But besides that, maybe CMP. I could go back to CMP. Nobody else wants to.
Hell yeah.
I would.
No, count me in.
What about Shauna?
I've actually never been there. I've heard it's amazing, but I've never been there. So I think when they went there, I wasn't really running the nationals yet.
We got to bring it back.
I would love to go there. I've only heard good things about it, so I would love to go there for sure.
No, Paulie's got a good point though on CMP though. That's another one to my agenda.
He's got a good point on NOLA. It's only 4 hours away from me, so I'm down for it. I'll drive there.
I feel like we need a new national series and just NOLA, CMP, Shawano, and then one other place.
There you go. You 3 amigos. There you go. Start it up.
That's way too much work.
3 amigos plus Pauly racing series.
3 amigos. United. I don't know. But
I like it. That actually sounds like a really good schedule, to be honest.
3 amigos karting challenge. How about that? That sounds perfect.
I say do it. Why not?
Hey,
there's already a bunch of series. Why not add another one?
Might as well.
Just go all 52 weeks in the year.
Bro.
Are you gonna give us your prize money to help start the series?
Yeah, dude.
Depends what my royalty is in the company.
We'll give you 50%. We'll go play some baccarat, double it, triple it, quadruple it, and we'll be good to go, dude. At the end of it, I have to turn 21 first, and then we'll go.
All on red.
That's not how you play baccarat.
No, it's different. It's different. Baccarat's a different game.
What would you bet on?
Baccarat? I lagged out. No, I lagged
right
out.
Right now. If you had to pick baccarat, this is where I would. All right, this is a deciding factor. If you pick the wrong one, I'm leaving right now. So, you picking player or banker?
It's
Banker's
player,
the favorite.
You always bet on the player, dude.
All right, Emory.
Nah, I'm going banker on that one.
Well, that being said, our segment with Pauly was done either way. So
nah, you got to pick player, 100%.
It's so funny because I don't know how to play baccarat. I don't know if Kaleb knows how to play either. I think we only know this because Pauly told us to bet on player.
Pauly told us you always bet on the player.
I've never played baccarat. I've never even been in the casino before, so
yeah, me neither.
Yeah, he was guessing, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Xander was the one telling me about baccarat. I've never even.
Goodness, dude. Yeah, I haven't played. I can only go to Oklahoma because that's the only place that has it 21 and under. And I can't even gamble at Vegas this year, so that's that. But
hey, wait, how's the golf game, Pauly? How's the golf game?
Yeah. I guess that's next.
We actually got done working early today. We ended up getting stuff done early, so we went and Aiden and I went and played some golf. It was
nice, dude.
What'd you shoot?
I didn't keep score because it's been so long, but it really wasn't that good. I was pretty bad. We were playing with these 2 other guys, these randoms, but they were throwing me off. it was their fault. They were throwing me off. But
Hey, answer Xander real quick. He says, "Man, how am I going to get blamed for this?"
I don't know. I'm just going off what you told me. That's all.
Well, that being said, Pauly, I'll give the floor to you here for a second so you can promote yourself, promote what you got going on as well in the next couple of weeks. I know we'll see you back at Trackhouse Motorplex for the night fight for the Stars Championship Series. So the floor is yours, dude. Feel free to promote yourself, promote what you got going on, your coaching, your program, and whatever else you want to say, your golf game, whatever else you got going on. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I got my one-on-one coaching deal at Trackhouse. So if you're interested in some coaching, come and do it. If not, don't. Totally up to you. Not going to force you to do anything, but if you want to give it a try, come reach out to me. My Instagram, message, whatever you want. And then, yeah, if you come do some coaching, you want to play golf after, we can play some golf after. Only if you pay for it, but yeah, that's it.
All righty, dude. Well, it was good to have you back. It was a good time with you as well, so we appreciate having you. And again, round of applause for Pauly Massimino, K8 100 shootout winner, won a lot of money this weekend. And yeah, Pauly, we appreciate you for taking some time out of your night. I know you're a super busy guy, but thanks for joining us here tonight.
Thank you. Looking forward to be at the track at 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Well, we are. I'm looking to go into class, so that's for me, and so is Emory, and I'm sure Alex as well, hopping online and doing that. But Pauly, always a pleasure having you on, man. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Well, that was all from Pauly Massimino. We'll have a quick commercial break, and our next guest is getting set to come on to the show here in a couple of moments' time. So we'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Kyle, I need a new 219 chain. I need a 77 toothbrush sprocket. I need some more chain lube, and I need it probably as soon as tomorrow. Dude, are you even listening? We need this to run this weekend.
Want anything else?
What do you mean?
I already got it in the car on Acceleration Kart Racing's online store, bro. All orders over $200 get free shipping.
Oh, throw in a set of tires.
Done.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free on orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Shop AKR.com.
Man, always a great time whenever you have a guy like Pauly Massimino come on the show, and it was a good conversation we had with him there. Talked about it all under the sun, so it was good to hear from him nonetheless, boys.
Yeah, it's always good to hear from Pauly. He always brings the laughs.
Yeah.
I just want to say my decision on Banker is rooted in mathematical truth, and you cannot take that away from me. So I stand by my decision.
You're only guessing, though, obviously.
No, 100% only guessing, but there is research behind this that I have never used in my life that only is available on the interweb,
Yeah.
So 100% sticking with my guess, or my educated guess, I must say, and I'm right.
Hey, well, that's being said there from Emory, a guy who also had a really good weekend this past weekend, your X30 shootout winner, and it's been a long overdue, I should say. Flying Ryan Norberg, 9-time U.S. American champion, hops on the show here tonight. Ryan, always good when you come on, dude. Congratulations on the weekend as a whole. Just walk me through that. You were waiting for so long to finally get that breakthrough shootout victory, and you finally got it this weekend.
Yeah, it was a good week. Thank you guys for having me on the show, first of all. But yeah, I mean, we won the shootout once before in 2021, I think.
True.
And then, yeah, it was we just couldn't find. I think early in the week we were just, we had some good sessions here and there, but kind of finding that consistency that Hayden had and some of the other drivers had. But I think the main thing was we were really using those heat races like we talked about as some testing, and we were really able to kind of fine tune the kart in during those practice and the two heats for the shootout. And so yeah, we were able to get the shootout win. It ended up being a little bit less chaotic than it normally is, which is always is a little bit better for me. And yeah, I mean, it was a good week overall. We still finished second on Sunday. Obviously, I wish the race would have kept going, but we got to do what's best and the safest for everybody. So yeah, it was a good week. Really had a good time, and yeah, congrats to you guys for having a good show.
Yeah, we always appreciate it. And if you guys watched the X30 shootout as well, this guy refused to talk to me at one point, and we weren't on speaking terms, but he won, and then I was forced to talk to him again there, and it was good fun though. I mean, I had a good time, Ryan. I guess doing that walkthrough. I know last year you did some of them as well, and it's always a good time. The IAME Grand Nationals is always fun for everybody, but. Yeah, what was up with that, dude? Why don't you want to talk to us as much anymore, dude? You were kind of hesitant.
No, I mean it's just you're on the show so much. It seemed like everybody every time they cut, it was like, all right, Ryan, you're first one up. Like it's drivers here, 14 other guys that are more than willing to talk. I'm like, it just seemed like it was always me. So I was like, I don't know. It's tough. I've been in your guys' shoes before. It's always hard to find somebody who's available. And luckily we kind of had a fast card and I felt pretty confident with things. So yeah, I was able to kind of sit and relax during the whole thing a little bit more than everybody else. And I think, obviously for your guys' standpoint, you can see someone just sitting around. It's easier to go grab them than, interrupt somebody changing an axle in the middle of a 10-minute, run there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, I did talk to a lot of drivers, but me and you always happen to make eye contact. And I was like, well, Ryan's not doing anything. Let's go talk to him. And that's how it pretty much ended up. But again, we have, I guess, a couple of questions to ask you. It's been a wild year for you. You finally got back up to the top step at the SCUSA Pro Tour. And I know last year, you didn't even have a win to your name. And this year, back in Ryan Norberg fashion, you did what, you do. And you were back in the championship by a couple of points to your teammate in Hayden, and you were able to get it done at Newcastle Motorsports Park. So I guess walk me through that weekend as a whole, because it was definitely a wild one, and you were able to pull through it in the end.
Well, I think the biggest thing is kind of opposite of what we just got done with is just kind of the championship racing versus, one-off racing. And that's something that I sometimes struggle with mentally, because there is a different driving style that you have to use at these races. And so, obviously for the IAME Grands, we're racing really, really hard. And, you're just much more aggressive out the gate. You're just, constantly just attacking. There's never a moment where you can relax. And normally, going into the last round of the SCUSA Pro Tour, you're still in that championship mode. And so for me, it was kind of treating that last race almost like the IAME Grands, where it's win at all costs. There's no prize for second in my head. And so it was kind of a difficult thing to kind of come out of my normal, driving style where it's, kind of more relaxed. Even though we were able to lead everything, there was definitely a lot more, I would say not pressure, but a little bit more intensity in my driving, just to make sure, if I was going to have a shot at it, obviously, I have to perform on my end. And yeah, I mean, it was a good week for us. Obviously, there was a lot of things that had to go our way to win the championship, and they did, which was obviously good for us. But as far as the championship goes, it's more just that mentality shift of, try to go out there and just attack every session, attack every practice, attack every heat race. It's really just to kind of defeat everybody before we even get to the final. Hopefully everybody's kind of given up on trying to catch me. And that was the goal, was just, from practice on, let's just outpace everybody as much as we can and try to win it before we even get to the final.
Yeah. And I guess to follow that up as well, this year was the biggest payout at the SCUSA Pro Tour as well. You have your entire next year pretty much for free with tires included and your entry obviously to the Supernat. So walk me through, I guess, how good that is as well with all the money that was up on the line for you guys this year and the incentives from the SCUSA Pro Tour.
Well, it's just very validating. I mean, obviously before we really didn't have any championship prize other than, the reoccurring entry fees, which has obviously been really nice of Tom and the whole group. They really give back to everybody, and USPKS does the same thing where they give back the entry fees and everything, which is really nice because it keeps us pro guys in it. We can kind of give back to our teams and help them out, but it helps a lot. I mean, obviously even for the team, being able to kind of, give back the guys and reward just a solid effort for the whole season. other than just one race. It changes your mindset a little bit more. I've always been a big kind of championship guy, make sure we stay till the end. But I definitely think it changed everybody's mentality a little bit more towards that. Because I think more people would in the past like to just get wins. And now everybody, it kind of changed everything because at $10,000 is a lot of money. And if you're just consistent through the 3 rounds, it's not hard to be in a spot to where you could win that money. And so, yeah, I think it definitely changed a lot of people's mindsets on how to drive. I think everybody was a little bit more conservative during heat races, just making sure we got all the points that we could. But yeah, it's really validating to have the money. Obviously, that's a big chunk of change for Tom and those guys to hand over. So I'm like very thankful for those guys to do it and to kind of be the first series to really reward the championship like that. And it does, kind of elevate that championship to, a different level where it's, there's just a lot more on the line. It always adds that extra sense of pressure. So I definitely think it elevated the, even though the numbers weren't that great, I think the competition was pretty stout that whole series.
Well, I want to pick your brain a little bit because you're a guy that has, so much experience in the sport. And I mean, you're Mr. 9-time now, so that's pretty cool. With the way this sport's growing here in the States with just, SCUSA putting a lot of money on the line, Stars putting out, what they're doing, PKS as well, doing a good job promoting the sport. And then we have the IAME Grand Nationals putting out so much money, Super Nats as always. And then you look over and you compare it to, kind of what we see overseas. We see a lot of drivers coming in and, leaving the European side to come here to the States, like your teammate Kai Hunter being one of them. And he said it openly, he prefers the States because there's more money here. Do you think that is such an appeal now for the States, and that's maybe why we don't see guys like you going overseas as often?
For sure, that's why I don't go overseas. I think there's a lot more to it. I think there's a lot of politics, at least into the CIK stuff. But as far as like going over and doing the IAME stuff, it's more just obviously the money pays a lot better here. I think right now we're kind of in a weird spot. Before there were like professional karting drivers, like Artigo, Abbas, DeCanto. There's a bunch of professional karting drivers, but I feel like it was a more, I hate to say like purist, but it was just, they liked to race. And the fact that they were racing and driving and that was kind of their job was like a lot of it. And now we're in this thing where you can kind of do like my thing with the YouTube and you can branch out and kind of do your own thing and still drive. I think it's created a little bit different of an avenue where drivers are looking at it and like, I'm not sure I want to take that leap into cars. It's a lot of money. I can't really afford it. Obviously long term, it's also not that stable. And then they look at the US and they look at a guy like me and Garrison and some of these other guys that have come over here and had success and are professional go-kart drivers and are working and winning money and, staying in the business and driving karts as a living. I think they look at that and see like, oh, there's an opportunity to continue what I like to do. And that's really cool to see. And that's really nice to see that we're the one that's kind of being that, I would say, beacon of hope to drivers out there that like, it's karting isn't just the end of the road. If you can't get a car ride, you can, continue to stay in it and continue to drive for a living, which is kind of the end goal for all of us. So yeah, I think it's really cool that we're doing that. I'm not a series promoter. I mean, I did my race. I'm not, I'm not Tom, Mark, or Joe. So I don't know how financially it looks to them. I hope it's showing some return for those guys, and that they're getting some positive feedback from everybody, and they can continue to do it. Obviously, on my side, I really like it. It helps, like I said, just validate the level of drivers we have and the people that come over. And I think you do see the driver level step up, because of the age of the drivers and stuff. Joe talked about it a lot when he comes over here. Just you're dealing with a much more mature level of drivers that are, very experienced. They're not stupid. They don't make mistakes. And so it adds that level of competition that, in Europe, they might have just outright speed. But a lot of the drivers are young over there and they're still learning. And so when you come over here, the speed is really close and right there, but then the experience is just top level. And I think, we all hold our own pretty well against anybody that comes over to the States.
Yeah, and I mean, Ryan, you've obviously been in this position now for, at this point, 8 years where you've had championships, you've had race wins, you've kind of been the guy or one of the guys, so to speak, on X30. I mean, when you first moved up to senior in 2015 into 2016, I mean, you're really, again, only 15, 16 years old, but now kind of with that much experience and that much winning behind you, how different is your approach on the sport of karting and kind of what you feel like you have to prove to other people, what you have kind of as your like motivations than it was, say, 5 to 6 years ago, sort of at the tail end of your PSL stint heading into Rawlison in 2019?
I think the biggest thing for me is, everybody kind of talks about like, what do you have left to prove? And a lot of the time, all you have left to prove is that you still have something left to prove. It's a weird spot that, I'm in, and obviously I'm very blessed to be in this position, and, I've had a lot of success. But when you are at this level, it's hard because everybody's just waiting for the fall off. They're waiting for you to slow up. You're the old guy out there. They're waiting for that time to end. And so, all I'm really, really wanting to keep doing, obviously I love driving and I love that I can do that for a living. But, when I'm out on the track, my goal is not just to win. It's to prove that, I still got it. I'm still out here. I'm older, whatever, but we're still out here. And, I think it's Austin Garrison would probably talk about the same thing, that, you're constantly dealing with the thing of like, you're racing younger guys. Everybody's coming. You're constantly having to adapt your driving style to what's new. And it changes a lot. And I'll say, like, my driving style when I was younger, I had probably more just outright speed. But when it came to adapting to different things on the racetracks or different tires and the driving style that comes with this set of tires and everything, that was a lot harder for me to understand. And I think that's why you would see lapses in my wins. It would be a couple wins, and then I would be way off the podium for a couple races, and then I'd be back up, and then I'd be down. And now it's more just kind of even. And I think that's just mainly because of understanding that, even though you won the last race, you're not still the best driver out there. Every race, you got to come with a fresh set of eyes. Every time you're on the track, you've got to try to come with some fresh mindset to it, to understand that you've got to try to prove something this race. You've got to try to go out there and do something well this race, and, nothing else before that matters. And I think that's the biggest thing that's changed for me. And it really helps me improve my driving quite a bit, because I'm constantly looking at what are ways we can improve, what are ways my driving can improve. I really don't like to look at past results, even the week before, to validate my feelings. Even if I have a bad session, I try not to think like, oh, well, last week I won. It's like, okay, well, last week doesn't matter. This week matters. And we need to try to go out and figure out what we can do this week. And I think it's just years of experience learning that. But I think it definitely makes you a stronger competitor. And it does make you, your career last quite a bit longer.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess to follow that up just a little bit, you mentioned again, all the young guys coming in, and you also mentioned, how there's a younger field overseas in Europe. And I guess what's your thought about the younger class as well coming up and those younger drivers? And I guess I also add in, the younger drivers that are 13, 14 racing over in Europe, because you had a little bit of the same thing in your race. You opened the doors to kind of drivers 13 and older.
Yeah. The Europe thing, first of all, is just, that has, I think, a lot just to do with the weight difference over there. I think, the senior class races at like, okay, senior, I think races at like 340. So it really does open the door for a lot of young guys. Obviously I have a different opinion on, the younger drivers. Obviously, I have my like old head complaints of like, oh, back in my day, we didn't do this. The fact of the matter is, and this is something that again comes with the age and the time that I've been in here, is it really doesn't matter what I think, because I'm racing younger guys and they're going to keep coming and they're going to get better and better. And I really have to just continue to learn what they're doing and try to adapt that and then be better than that. And so right now it's like, a lot of the younger guys, very aggressive, very spur of the moment. They don't think about things too much. They just kind of go with the flow. A lot of getting to the front early, a lot of just trying to get out, making late passes, really pushing you wide. And that's something I wasn't really used to. And now it's starting to, I'm having to readjust how I race just because I have to keep up. You have to be adjusting because the sport's going to continue on. There's going to be new drivers. There's going to be better drivers. And it doesn't really matter what I think about, how these drivers are. As far as my race goes, like I said, I think there are some really good younger drivers. That's why I opened it up to younger drivers, because I think there are, not only just bigger 13-year-olds that can meet the senior weight class, but I think there's some really good drivers that, do really well. Like, for example, Enzo Vidmontien did really well. Jackson Wolney did really well at my race coming up and doing that senior race for the first time. And so, yeah, I think there's, the younger talent is really good. It's really strong. I think those kids, when they get to 18, 19 years old, they're going to be like, oh, we didn't drive like this. And then if you don't adapt, you're just going to get weeded out. You're going to get pushed to the side, and that younger generation is just going to come up. If you're thinking longevity, if you're thinking about staying in the sport, and you're trying to be somebody who can continue to win over and over again, you've got to try and reinvent your driving style every year, every race, just to keep up with the times, because there's just that next class that every year they just, there's another group of young drivers that are coming up, and they're coming for me, and they're coming for all these guys that have been there before. I mean, I remember when I first got to senior, I think it was Louis Pagano was one of the guys that, I didn't even know Louis. I know Louis, he's a nice guy. But at the time it was like, I want to beat that guy. There's no reason behind it. I just saw his name a lot. And I was like, he won the Super Nats the year before I think I moved up senior. And I was like, I'm coming for him. In my head, that's the guy I want to beat. There's other guys, your Askews, your Nick Naries, there's these guys that I looked up to, and it was like, there wasn't really any rhyme or reason to it. It's just, I want to beat that guy. And I was putting a lot of effort into it. And so now being in that spot, you've got to understand that, they're coming with fresh ideas, fresh driving styles, and you got to go out there and perform and really make your driving style adapted to what the style is for that week.
Bouncing off of that a little bit, I asked Garrison the same exact question 2 weeks ago on our show, but I want to ask you. You're a driver at the top of the food chain of, these younger kids are coming in and they want to beat you maybe more than anybody else, or similar to, the Garrisons of the world. Do you feel like it's your responsibility at all, or is there a weight on your shoulder to have to maybe coach up those younger kids that are joining the senior class and say, listen, this is how we roll in the senior category?
Yeah, yes and no. I think, it's hard. I've talked to Austin about it a little bit, because, he and I, we get along with, quite a lot of the drivers, but I was talking to him like, man, I don't really relate to anybody up here. I'm like, what's going on? And then I kind of thought about it. I was like, oh, I'm like 6 years older than a lot of the drivers out here. So I'm on my own, and they're living with their parents. Yeah. It's kind of like, it's a different area. So you're probably not going to relate. And on the side of coaching it, we're still competitors. And so, what I try to more or less do is try to show that, as far as coaching people up, all I want to do is be an example of what you can do in this sport, with my school, with my race, with all the things that I'm doing. I want to show that this isn't the end. If you can't make it in cars, and it's not even like can't make it in cars. If you want to stay in karting, stay in karting. You can do it. You can come through it. You've got to be nice to everybody as much as you can. I have my instances where I get upset with some of the drivers, but in the end, you got to be hospitable with everybody, drivers, team owners, everybody. You got to try to mend relationships. You got to be a nice person, an ambassador of the sport. And you really got to try to push people to stay in the sport. And so I think that's, as far as the coaching goes, the driving standards, I can't say too much on, because anytime I complain about it or try to talk to anybody, say I'm old. So I just try to stay out of that. I mainly just try to, like, let everybody know, try to stay positive. This isn't the end of the world. If you don't win this race, it's not the end of the world. You got another one. Let's just try to keep in your mind the long term, because when you're young, you definitely get caught up on the week to week adrenaline hit that you get from karting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ryan, I mean, you've had the opportunity over the last few years. You've kind of been in this unique spot where you've coached a lot of the guys that have ended up being right there with you or thereabouts. I remember talking to Hayden about this it's kind of this unique position on his end where it's like, you've helped a lot with his development. And then at the end of the day, you're also kind of the barometer to look towards. But when you kind of take a step back from the actual development part and more towards the racecraft side of it, when you're in the tent with RPG and also now with your other Norberg Karting Academy gigs and everything else that you've done in terms of coaching over the years, how difficult is it to kind of take your lens as someone that's been through kind of the older generation that's driven in senior at this point for almost a decade and kind of apply it to other drivers that maybe have different experiences that are also now at this point racing against the same field, but maybe see things from a different perspective with different lenses than kind of what you've grown accustomed to or what you've seen over the years?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me, I mean, especially when it comes to my coaching, I've understood a lot that my driving style necessarily doesn't fit everybody, from Hayden to, some of the other drivers, Donovan, everybody has a different driving style. For example, I coached Paul Bocuse in mini, and then, I ended up racing him in senior. So it's like, I've coached a lot of these guys and I grew up and watched like, oh, they have different driving styles. And I think, trying to understand, when I work with them, a way to make them comfortable on the racetrack, while also like trying to implement like what I'm doing faster. If I'm braking later in a corner, kind of understanding, hey, why can't you brake later? And they'll, oh, I didn't, think about that. And then we try to fix the cart or fix something to help them communicate a little bit more so that we can make it fast enough that they feel confident to drive where I'm at. But yeah, I mean, as far as like, the racecraft and everything goes, you learn a lot about it, but about each driver and how they race. But I think something that I've always tried to do with my coaching, at least, is I really don't try to like hide anything that I'm doing. When you have that kind of reserved sense, I would say, people pick up on it. When you get close to somebody who's faster, they tend not to tell you everything. I try to be the opposite way. I try to be an open book. If you don't want to tell me, that's all right. But I'm going to tell you, pretty much everything that I can do. And in exchange, a lot of the time, the people, at least in our tent, are very open and they talk back. And for example, Hayden is also very open. He talks.
Well,
Well, bro.
And might have lost
You
it
get
there a
me?
little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
you're back.
You get to kind of blend their styles into yours. And I think it's just, that's something to really, try for, is to, treat everybody, the same. I try not to talk down or anything to these guys. It's more, I want you to do well. I want you to come out. I want you to try to beat me if you can, and I want to go against the best of the best. So if I can coach you up and then you beat me, I'm going to learn a lot from you. And then hopefully I can come back and beat you. And so I think when you have that mindset, I think it changes the coaching aspect a little bit, where you don't feel like so much that I coach these guys, but that I just kind of partnered with them and helped them get to a better spot in their career.
Yeah, and real quickly on my end, one last thing is you've had a couple experiences through your karting career in 2020, 2021, where it kind of looked like the guys that you were coaching, the guys that you were under the tent with in a 6-race span or in a championship span got the better. How much did you learn from those experiences? And kind of on your end, I mean, you mentioned kind of learning from it and adapting to it, but kind of what specifically changed from that point to 2022 onwards, where you've kind of been, not to say you weren't informed back then, but certainly have picked up another gear?
Well, I think similar to what we talked about earlier, I think, obviously things change over time. And those were one of those years where, you get behind the ball. You kind of get, and the way I've seen it is when I do really well, I tend to do really poorly the next year because you get comfortable. And that's something I'm really trying to work on and not do, because you get comfortable and you think that, oh, because I did this last year, it works this year. And it doesn't work, because, you'll have Biggs Tyner or a Hannah Greenemeyer come out and just beat you every week. And so it's something where it's like, I can put up laps with them, but there's always, I'm missing that same confidence level that I had. And so I think, that was definitely the biggest thing that you pick up from that, is that, as much as you're coaching them and helping them, they're also there helping you. And I think, like I said, when you create that relationship, it does tend to allow you to grow as much as they are growing, just in a different way. As far as a competitor, I think it really helps change your mindset to, being happy for the other people, your competitors. I when I was started in senior, I was always kind of the solo guy, whether it was with, Orlando Kart Center when I raced for them and Team Felon. I was kind of my own guy there. And same with Burrell, it was kind of, I had teammates every once in a while, but for the most part, I was on my own. There was no reason to be happy for anybody else, because there wasn't anybody else. But now it's like, there are other people that you need to, cheer on and root for, even if that's at your expense. And I think, it really culminated when, Donovan won the Supernats. And like, when I came off the track, I was just genuinely happy for him. And that's something I've just, been working on as a competitor. You're never really happy that somebody else beats you. But it was something that was really cool that, like, I come off the track and, I just got beat at the Supernats, which is, one of the biggest races we all want to win, put so much time in. And I'm just happy for somebody else. I'm happy that it was our guy that won it, obviously. I'd be probably a little less happy if it wasn't one of our guys, but, it's a guy that I've seen put in a lot of hard work, put in a lot of effort. And it was really nice to see that pay off for somebody. And, one of my girlfriend was telling me the other day, we were talking, and, we pray a lot before the race. And she's like, sometimes, we're playing that we're in God's plan, and, maybe this isn't part of your plan, but it's part of somebody else's plan. Because they could be probably praying for the same thing. They're praying for that win, that big Supernats win, and that could be it, And so, I think it's definitely a different way to look at it. And I think when you've been in the sport long enough and you work with your teammates, you've got to understand that they're going to win. You're not going to win every race. But what you can do is take something away, figure out what you can do next time. How can we be better? Where can we improve? And then, the next race, you go out there and try to win that. I think it's a mindset thing. And like we keep talking about, but that's how you manage the longevity of the sport.
On the topic of coaching, your academy has been going around for a minute now, but it seems like we've seen some growth in it. You've been traveling to the races. I mean, how do you see the evolution of, your academy going forward?
I think, right now we're trying to stay pretty regional. I'm not trying to do the national team thing. That's not really my goal right now. Right now, I really want to be that transition point for drivers that are coming from, that local, regional level to a national level. I want to be that bridge. I think there's a lot of drivers that don't know when they're ready to go to the national level. And so right now, my academy, we're going to be working on, driving and everything, but it's mainly to bridge that gap between the drivers so that, you come, you work with me, maybe we spend a year together going to these regional races, the SSKCs, the Orlando Cups, Homestead, Mooresville. I want to start traveling a little bit more next year, but the goal is you come through me, and ideally, I can pass you off to Rollison Performance Group. But if that's not the case, you can go wherever, but you feel prepared. And you feel prepared because you had somebody that knows what it takes to perform at that level. And then you go. That was one of the biggest things for me in my career, is that I never went to the national scene until I was ready. I would do a couple races a year in Florida because the Florida Winter Tour would come there every year. But that was my national race. I didn't really do a proper national race until I had like 8 years in the seat because I was waiting till I was ready, because I wanted to make sure I was ready so that all the money I spent goes to use. And so I know there's a lot of other drivers that are in that same spot where they're like, that national calendar, that's a heavy calendar to just commit to. And I don't feel ready to just go and commit to, 4 races for USPS and then another 3 for SCUSA and then the Supernats and the Rock, and then, Stars. It's a big schedule. But if I can help bridge that gap, that's really my goal, that I bridge that gap for these people. You're going to come in, you're going to get, the coaching, the development you need to become a proper driver on a national scene. And then you can go to the national scene, wherever you choose and compete. That's the goal for me. And so, yeah, looking forward, that's really what I want to start doing. We have 4 drivers for our next club event, which is really cool. And like we've been talking about, I get to see the development of all these guys come along. And, there's a lot that I'm learning as well about, managing a business and everything on that, but like also the driving. I'm learning a lot of different kinds of styles and things to look for, that drivers do, ways to communicate better with other drivers, so that, we can have the best success. I can have better success and they can have better success. But it's really fun. It's been a really fun experience doing, and I'm really looking forward to next year and, all the races that we're going to do in the future. It's going to be a lot of fun, being able to bridge that gap for a lot of drivers that were in my shoes.
Yeah, and I guess I have a follow up to that question as well, because I really think you're one of the first, of the most recent drivers that's, made a business and made a living in the sport, and that's with your academy, with your YouTube, and with your racing as well at the same time. So I guess what's that kind of been like, racing and then learning how to run a business at the same time and seeing the kind of the ins and outs of our sport as well, a little bit more than just focusing on racing like you were in the past.
It's difficult. I mean, Pauly was just talking about it a little bit about how, it's a challenge. He talked about, you come off the session and you don't really have time to really work on yourself, because you have to go coach people. And sometimes that's the case. RPG, we've kind of structured it a little bit better to where I have some time to focus on my own racing, as well as helping all the customers. But there were times where, I would have 10 minutes to go, figure out whatever I have to do and go out there, and we're at a national race, and the expectations are still, you have to compete. I think the big thing that I've learned, my parents are very entrepreneurial. My father, he's run his own business, and my mom's helped him all along the way. So they've, really given me a lot of insight.
He'll be back. It took him 5 seconds last time, so we'll
back?
wait
I cut off there for a second, I think.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, but there's definitely ways, you could, there's definitely avenues to make money. You could start a team. You can do coaching. There's different ways. The thing is just, trying to be creative, I think, has been the biggest thing. Obviously my career path has not been the most traditional. And with that comes a lot of stress, as in you need to constantly be adapting and changing directions and trying to improve. And so right now that's kind of, where I'm at, is like, let's try to take this academy and be something else. Same with the Norberg Pro Kart Invitational. Let's try to do something different. Let's try to see if it sticks. And if it sticks, great. We can keep going with that. If it doesn't, we got to try and pivot and go somewhere else. I think karting is such a strange market because there's a lot of people in it, and it's a very niche industry, but it's super fun. I mean, it's definitely a world that nobody wants to get out of, and so I'm going to try my hardest to stay in it and make a business, make a living in it, and ideally, it'll turn out. Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the Norberg Invitational. I want to talk about that just a little bit here. I know we've briefed on it in the past when you had it, back in, I believe, March it was. But you've put on different hats now throughout your career. You've been the driver, you've been the business owner, you've been the coach, you've had your academy, you've been, I don't want to say a series event runner, but you've been an event runner. So, what's that been like, for one? And then, what can we expect in the future for this Norberg Invitational? Because to me, that was one of the coolest events we put on so far this year.
Thanks. As far as like the business owner side of thing, all the different hats, it's it's difficult at times. For example, like with your racing, you're really concerned about winning. But then there's times where it's like, okay, we need to pivot here. You need to stop thinking about yourself and go help the customer and make sure they're happy. And then there's times where you have to, I'm at a race weekend.
Oh no.
Give it a sec. Give it a sec.
Three,
Am I back? Okay.
2,
Yeah.
there it is.
There you go.
Yeah, I told you my Wi-Fi is bad, but you had to, you have to kind of get out of that mindset of, you're at a race weekend helping, certain people and try to put out a fire back home. So it's difficult, but I think any business owner is going to tell you wear many hats, especially in the beginning. I've tried to talk to these guys and kind of cry for sympathy, and everybody that owns a business tells me the same thing. They're like, get it together. It's not the end of the world. That's what we all have to do. And so, that's kind of what you have to do. As far as the Norberg Pro Kart goes, obviously I want to have another one. I've been talking about some dates to get everything done. Right now, the biggest challenge is around the time that I planned it last year. We're already stacking up a lot of races around that time. And one of the biggest complaints about my race was that it was really difficult for everybody who was there because there was already so many races going on at that time period. So it's a matter of trying to find a time that is comfortable for everybody to where, it's a little less stressful. I think we missed out on quite a bit of entries just because people were tired. And then there was also other races going on the same week, so I think, that's what's going on right now. Obviously I still want to have it. The goal is to have another one, but trying to coordinate with some of the series and stuff so that it's easy on the teams to travel to. It's not a huge inconvenience. And then also, it's not another long weekend on top of, 8 other long weekends. That's the goal right now. But yeah, I think it was a really fun event. I think everybody had a great time. I got a lot of awesome feedback, and I think, it's like Eric's event this weekend. It's just one of those fun one-off weekends. And it kind of takes the stress off a little bit when you're out there because, every race we're at these days has championship points and championship implications. So it's hard to just relax and have a good fun weekend. And I feel like that one was fun.
Do you feel like you learned anything as that weekend went on? Maybe you became
Dude, I learned so much. I learned about how timing works. I learned about
You learned about how Wi-Fi works as well.
Hey,
I learned so much, but it was honestly, it was just more eye-opening to the stress that you get. Obviously I had a lot of help from people that were smart in the industry. Tom gave me a lot of advice. And Andre, I was running it at his track, so he was giving me a lot of advice on, when to have things ready by. So it helped. I wasn't walking into it blind, but yeah, I mean, as far as eye opening and sleepless nights and everything, it was, it wasn't easy. But I think next year we have a lot better game plan.
5 seconds. 5 seconds. 5 seconds.
Just make the whole process easier for everybody, essentially.
Yeah, took 5 seconds, but you were back and finished the point. Yeah. So we, I guess to wrap things up here, Ryan, I guess before I asked you about the show, and I guess on a lighter note, you were talking about going to Disney and whatnot, being an Orlando native. That's always a good time. But what keeps you going back to a place like Disney? It seems like you're a little bit of a Disney parent at this point, huh?
I'm a Disney adult, unfortunately. It's me and my girl. We like to go there. That's like our place.
Nice.
When you live in Orlando,
when you live in Orlando, you get bad Wi-Fi, apparently.
Hey, 5 seconds.
5 seconds.
All right, am I back? Yeah, if you live close, it's like the best place to go to because you can just pop in. If you have annual passes, you can just pop in and out, and you have to use it to make your money back. So you pop in, you get you get some food, you go see Goofy, and then you bounce out, and that's that's how it goes. It's also, I don't know, it's relaxing. It's hard to, like, when you're racing as much as you are, it's hard to find places that are not so like stimulating. I don't really get relaxed in like relaxing areas.
Yeah.
It makes my brain go crazy. And so Disney actually, like, I know it's kind of goofy that it's Disney,
Contradicting,
but it
yeah.
is. Yeah, it's kind of relaxing because there's so much going on constantly. It kind of just blanks out the noise in my head, and then you can kind of like sit back and enjoy the teacups.
I was actually hoping when you won the shootout that you were gonna give us like "We're going to Disney World" quote, but we didn't get one of those.
Yeah.
I forgot about it, man. But I did. I had it booked. I think I'm going tomorrow. It rained today, so I think we postponed it till tomorrow. So we go about once a week.
What's your go-to park?
It depends, man. It depends on the day. I mean, it's not Magic Kingdom. It's kind of overdone, but it's like Animal Kingdom right now is really fun.
Pandora's a great ride. Pandora's a great ride.
Yeah, but then we like to go on the Runaway Railway. That's a good one. So yeah, we're big Disney people. We watch Disney vloggers all the time. So it's bad, but it's
Matter
like,
of fact,
I'm like watching the updates on the new Universal Park. I'm like looking at
I'm doing that.
That's all I do.
Oh yeah,
dude. honestly, and I say this like super seriously. You need to do a Disney vlog one day.
I was about to say that.
Like a day in a life in Ryan Norberg's like week going to Disney. You need to do one, dude.
I've debated it. You don't understand. I'm watching these Disney vloggers with like millions of views, and I'm like, this seems profitable. I'm like, we could do this. I'm there enough.
Screw go-karting, screw money prizes, screw all that stuff, dude. Start doing Disney vlogs. Start, promoting the hell out of it. Make a day in a life. Like, people want to see the behind the curtain stuff. That's
the problem. Is a day in the life of me is like, you wake up, you go to Disney World. People are like, that's kind of weird. That's strange. And then we go to the track. The rest of the day I'm at the track. So it's like, dude, that's my day in the life. It's just racetrack Disney.
Goofy and go-karts.
Goofy and go-karts, bro. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
That's pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty badass. Day in the life there. And honestly, like your karting videos are pretty good. I think I joked around with you during the week that I think you just posted the Tillotson one where you're building the whole thing. It was like 2 a.m., 1:30 in the morning, and I was just watching that, knocked out halfway through the video. I was like, dude, Ryan's videos are pretty. Just hearing you turn that wrench was just too satisfying for some reason.
The point, Caleb. I got you. That was it.
The Ryan Norberg.
I had a whole mic set up and everything. You should have seen the intricacies of that film day.
The Ryan Norberg karting brain rots, it's going crazy so far this week. It's great, dude. You're honestly, I'm a huge fan of what you do in all the videos and making that stuff, I guess, a little bit behind the curtain as well. And I guess all this being said, Ryan, I'll give the floor to you to promote yourself, what you got going on. Your academy, I know, is huge. If you want to talk about what park you're going to Disney tomorrow, more than welcome. The floor is yours here, my guy.
Well, yeah, we're doing next week, or this weekend is our Orlando Cup.
All right, 5 seconds. 5 seconds.
I'm back.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, ruined my plug, my internet. But yeah, come to the Norberg Karting Academy if you want to, bridge that gap between regional level driver to a national driver. This is where you're going to come and do that. That's kind of our only purpose right now is to help you bridge that gap to become a national level driver. But then also, we're offering some group coaching options. So, if you want to get a couple friends together to do it, that's also a really fun thing to do. Look out for the next Norberg Pro Kart. Hopefully we can announce some stuff soon. But then also like and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and all that fun stuff because I post karting content. If you like karting content, make sure to follow along. So yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Hey, round of applause, Ryan Norberg hopping on the show this week and making the most money out of anybody at the IAME Grand National. It's always a pleasure having you on, Ryan. And yeah, it's good, I guess, have a laugh with you and talk karting as well. So thank you very much for coming on, to say the least.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I appreciate you guys always posting how much I win, so the IRS knows exactly how much I make. So thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Well, perfect way to end off here. Ryan, we appreciate you coming on the show. That being said, this is Ryan Norberg, 9-time U.S. American karting champion and more. With that being said, we'll go into a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're expecting to see Jakub Kolar in a couple of moments' time.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, $70?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
So that being said, that was a great conversation we had there with the one and only Ryan Norberg, 9-time champion. And I guess I can't fail to mention the comment section has blown up. Where's Jakub Kolar and, whatnot? This guy has finally arrived. He scared the crap out of me, I have to say. Jakub joined the show just 2 minutes ago. He's been waiting in the green screen. I was about to call him live on this episode to see if he was going to come on. But, boys, enough talk about this kid who had a great weekend, and he impressed everybody this past weekend. Your X30 Pro IAME Grand National Championship, the one and only Jakub Kolar, all the way from Key West, Florida. Round of applause for this kid hopping on the show tonight. Jakub, man, what a weekend for you. And to say the least here, you hopped on the scene this weekend and for sure surprised the hell out of everybody out there at the kart track. Long overdue, to say the least. But walk me through your weekend as a whole and the days after yesterday, and today, what that's kind of been like for you.
I mean, yeah, it's obviously amazing to win one of, the biggest events in karting other than Vegas. And it truly means a lot, the work and preparation for it. Just like Ryan has, I have a little team as well, Vice Racing, as you can see right here.
Yeah.
And, just the local and SSKC races, just prepping for that, staying in the seat, trying to, stay on top of my game. Don't do as many national races as I, hope to do, but when I get in it, I try to do the best I can. And I've gotten a lot of congratulations and like that over the past few days for the win, and it feels great.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. And I guess let's talk about the race here a little bit as well. I mean, it seemed like it was a little bit of an up and down weekend. The shootout probably didn't go the way you would have wanted it to go, but that race, it was pretty crazy, to say the least. You were up there and in the fight, and then you were able to get ahead, and you and Dalton were fighting, and then you got up there in the front, and the rain came out. Just walk me through the race as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the shootout was a little tough. We started the first feature, in second, got that early race jump to the lead. We're kind of on the wrong gear, a little too low on the pressures, just figuring out the track. And, we made a couple mistakes, being a little too soft, went to the back, and then, finishing off the shootout in fifth, not terrible, but, not where we wanted to be, but I think we'll be a lot more confident for next year, knowing the competition and all that. And the racing, the beginning of the weekend, we had the pace, we had the motor and everything, but at the beginning, now what everyone probably haven't seen was the engine loved to move back on the chassis a lot, and the chain would start popping a lot and going off the front drive. So we had to figure that out for the past, 2 days before the main events. Finally got that fixed, put the pace together, and we ended up going to the final, starting P5. Got a good jump on the start, back to, I think it was P5 or P4. Just stayed calm and consistent, stayed behind the leaders. Changed for positions between me, Hayden, and Haynes quite a bit. And then, had that little incident into turn one, got a little bit of a lead, and just had to put laps down, seeing Frankie and Ryan behind me two guys that have been in the sport for a long time, just trying to be consistent, put exactly the same amount of lap times or even better than them. And with the added rain in the end, it was difficult, but we came out on top at the end, and it's amazing.
I gotta say, I haven't seen the comment section blow up like this. I've just been scrolling forever. We got you're probably seen this, Jacob, but we got people asking where your dog is right now. Colin Lloyd, obviously, Chase Gasly, a whole bunch of the Florida boys. Has it sunk in yet that you're an IAME Grand National champion?
Yeah, I mean, finally seeing all that stuff, it finally sunk in. I mean, I knew I won when I won, but it just didn't feel real. And what's funny is I know you guys all want to see the dog. He's sleeping right now. He's life. But what's funny is I've always had dreams about winning this, and it's kind of funny because I had deja vu, and when I got the penalty, that's kind of what the deja vu came from, and it was like me in the penalty room, discussing it with the race directors and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I didn't know if I won it or not, but in the dream or deja vu, whatever you want to call it, I had a penalty and I won the race. And turns out, thankfully enough, I won the race with the penalty, got that overturned. And that's what I just found pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. And I mean, to think about I guess your path through the ranks has been a little bit different than anybody else. Obviously, you and your dad, Jerry, have worked together a lot. And one of the things that I love to hear, I want to hear the Jakub Kolar lore. I want to hear how you started in karting. So I'm going to give you the floor here, and you can tell me about how you started in karting and how you got to where you got to this past weekend.
So mainly gone to motorsports because of my dad. He when he was little, around the same age as me, he did karting as well, and he also played hockey and did all that stuff. And then as he later started to retire from go-karting, he started doing motorcycle racing again. And then they had me, and I started coming to his races and stuff like that, watched it, and just kind of had it in me, in my blood, the racing blood. And he introduced me to karting when I was around 5.5. And funny enough, my first team was actually Inter MS. They weren't the pink and chrome like they are now, but they were, I think it was green, white, and red. And started with Carly, put me on a little OTK go-kart in Bambino, did some laps in that, got some wins, moved up to micro, did micro for half a year, privateer, and then we went up to mini, also privateer, got a ride with IPK in Praga. That was pretty cool. Went up to Europe when I was 7 and 9, did some races up there. Unfortunately, didn't make both finals, but it was a great experience. Came back to the U.S. with a lot more info, and we started doing pretty good in nationals. I mean, we got some second and thirds in SCUSA and stuff like that. Met some pretty cool people along the way. Long coach that I had was Christina Vordrin. She was a racer as well. She helped me a lot through my mini career. Then towards the end of it, of my mini career, Jordan Perry, who I'm still very good friends with. Everyone's still really good friends with. He helped me going into my junior year as well. Also on the IPK, going into the RS, the Ralf Schumacher kart. And then got an offer from Carlos Iaconelli to PK, and met all the other cool drivers in that. Still on the RS kart. And then it was a year that we always had good connection with Eric Jones, since he used to do Kart Sport North America, the IPK. And it was one year I was supposed to have a chassis come from IPK, and turns out it didn't come in time. And so me and my dad were just talking to each other, and we're like, what are we going to do? We don't have a chassis to run. The race is coming up. And Eric Jones actually gave us, a call, and he was like, so how does it sound if you want to go to KR with us, finally join? And we're like, you know what? No other option. Try it out, see how it goes. He gave us the opportunity, jumped in the Fernando Alonso kart, and we went pole in our first quali feature, and it felt great. I mean, I loved the chassis. It was wonderful. That weekend wasn't the best. We had some problems in the pre-final, then got some pretty good amount of spots from last to get to, I think it was P8, P9 from last. And then after that, Carlos and them switched to Sodi. I was a factory Sodi kart driver for a little bit. and did some races like that. Met Harley and all that. That's when Joe Turney came into the U.S. Figured out Sodi, didn't fit me much. The team, I know we've been with them for a while. Just figured we needed a change. Went back to KR Privateer, and then slowly started Vice Racing, and that's kind of where we're at now. And just trying to get as many nationals in as we can. And yeah, I mean, the journey has been long and has been great, but yep, it's been a lot.
Yeah, and I guess growing up, I guess the closest track that you had to, closest to you was AMR Homestead. That's where you've kind of grown up. That's your home track. But I know it wasn't always easy, coming from Key West, from where you're from. So talk to me a little bit about that. Growing up, and I know you and your dad, as Xander mentioned it, whenever he did your race call, which again, I mean, a lot of respect for that guy. Every time I feel like he tells a lot of us, the story. He knows you for quite some time, and I watched it back earlier today, and just the chills that I got, and I want to hear it from you, because I know it was something different for you, and growing up you had to drive hours on end with your dad in the van. So I guess talk to me about that. How it was growing up and spending a lot of time in that Sprinter van with your dad.
Yeah, when I lived in the Keys, it took a long time, especially because of the traffic, the one-way road. And it was like a 3-hour drive every weekend, and we just try to pound laps, even if they weren't races. We try to get the practice in, and it was difficult. Gas isn't cheap. Travel isn't cheap. All that. So we just try to get as many laps as we could. The dedication was there, and slowly, started to get eyes on me and stuff like that. Some small little sponsorships and stuff like that helped me race more. But I mean, couldn't do it without my dad. He's been there all the way through, and trusted the process. And yeah, it wasn't easy, to say the least. And then, a couple years back, with the hurricane and all that, and my house, going on fire and all that, that was a turning point in my career when I was like, you know what? If this happened, I don't think we could do it anymore. The money's not there. We didn't have a place to stay and stuff like that. But, thankfully to the karting community, which I'm still so thankful for to this day, we raised a hell of a lot of money, got us back on our 2 feet, and we got back maybe a month after. And that's when I think it was IAME Grands as well, I think a year back. And that's when Kevin Harvick, gave me, a chance, and he put some money in and helped me out to race. And that was a big thing. Him and Eric Jones, they try to get me back into it, try to get my mind off of it. And I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah, that's I guess really powerful to hear, and I know Alex has more as well on that, because Alex, you're obviously from the Miami area. You saw this kid grow up, so I'll give you the floor here.
Well, I mean, you touched on it a little bit, obviously, but when something like that, when you go through something like that, and your first thought is, hopefully, your family's okay. Hopefully, your house is okay. Hopefully, everything's going, right. Your next thought was probably, listen, like, this might be it for racing. And then you have this community rally against you. If you just click on the comment section, you could see, just the small part of that community that probably, and I bet, contributed to you being back in the seat. I mean, how much does that mean to you?
It means a lot, just having people back me up like that, even you guys helping out with all the fundraising. It just shows how much of a, family type thing the sport is, and how everyone can come together when something happens. And it's truly amazing. I mean, I don't think, if I wasn't in karting, I don't know how we get back on our 2 feet like that. But, thanks to everyone who in karting and everyone else and friends and family, I mean, it changed my life. It was great. I'm so thankful to this day for everybody that helped.
Yeah, and then shifting focus now, because you're a driver that, you do national events when you can, really, at the Homestead, Orlando sort of thing. You'll travel every once in a while for, events like IAME Grands, and it worked out for you.
Mm-hmm.
But talk to me about the development of Vice Racing, right? It's you and your dad going through it together. And when you do travel to the IAME Grands, it's just you, your dad, and a trailer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right now we have some 2 steady customers, who raced in the last one. Keith Lewis Jr., he's, been racing for a couple of years, just, rookie driver. He's been doing a great job. We also have another kid back at home in Miami, Marcos Burgess. I think that you know him quite well, Alexander.
Yeah.
He used to be with Rice and stuff like that, and I used to actually coach him when he was in PK. And it's kind of funny because then we started the team, and he's like, you know what, I want to be a part of that team again. This is the first guy that coached me, and he's developed a lot as a driver, as a young man, as a young kid, and the team has for sure stepped up quite a bit. I mean, our first race we had an 8-driver feature. We had me, I had Noah Jackson, we had Santiago Fernandez, Luke Welcome, some of the Scarboroughs, and it just opened eyes for us. We're like, we could do this as a team, and it could be something special. And we're still growing. We're still trying to find out, how we can get more into this. And just like Ryan is with his stuff, more regionally, the locals and SSKC and stuff like that. Want to try doing that more. And then once we get to the national level, maybe bring a couple more guys into this and just bring out their name as well. Not just mine. I like to create something, have young drivers come up, and even if they don't have the money and they don't have the time, just get them up and just try to do what they can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's been awesome to see kind of how you guys have grown the Vice operation. I think certainly heading into next year, obviously this win will have a lot of street cred and branding awareness for you. But on your own personal driving side, I mean, the first couple of years you moved up senior, you had some highs. I remember that first IAME Grands in 2022 you were talking about. You did pretty well that weekend, all things considered. But really this year I feel like it's been where you've kind of taken off when it comes to the national scene. And certainly the first round at Homestead, you were in contention for the win. I think both days you had you had an incident on one of the two finals, but still had a lot of pace. But how much has had the early rounds of the year, kind of when you were on that national tour, helped with your confidence heading into this weekend, knowing that you had the speed in Miami, you were good in really all 4 rounds, even if the results weren't there, and then in Orlando as well, you looked like you kind of had finally sort of found that groove in senior.
Yeah. I mean, going up to this weekend, the first couple rounds, the beginning of the year, just try to be a lot smarter. A lot of the senior guys, just want to try to get ahead and be overly aggressive and stuff like that. And when I told myself, I'm not going to be winning right away. I mean, it's difficult for people to do that, and I just wanted to be as consistent and as calm as I could be. Don't want to make enemies. Don't want to pull hero moves and stuff like that. Just wanted to be the person I am. And people don't see me as an overly aggressive driver, I think. And that's just what I want to keep as my lingo. I don't want to be the crazy guy on track. I want to be respected for who I am, how I drive. And yeah, I mean, the first rounds of Scusa went great. The first 2 rounds, the first one had a lot of pace, just trying to get into the national level again, get all the rust off. And then the second round in the rain, we got the P3 first national, career podium, felt great. And the next 2 rounds were kind of tough. I know I wasn't featured a lot in that one. The 2 rear axles snapped both days, which kind of, ruined the chances of being top 3 in the championship. But, that's just how racing goes. You never know what happens. And you just got to keep your head up for the next one. And I did that. And the next week I had Florida Winter Tour for Rock, and ended up doing pretty well in that one. I won it, and then did the next 2 rounds, and I got second in the championship, and I'll be in Rock Vegas, so that'll be pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, this year so far has been great in my career, and for sure a lot of highs and lows, but this year's for sure been an all-time high.
I mean, you're a driver that we've always known the pace is there, right? Maybe sometimes the luck isn't, like you mentioned, in rounds 3 and 4 at Homestead, you can't predict an axle snapping twice. But in terms of this IAME Grands Championship now, how much confidence does this give you heading into the rest of the year and then, your career now, knowing that you really got what it takes to go out there and beat, the best of the best?
Yeah, it's for sure a lot for my confidence. I know I could run with the top guys, even though not everybody was here. Joe Turney, Austin Garrison, Alessandro Tullio, Harley Keeble, all of them. But I'm still going against top level drivers, and it's a big boost for confidence. And I'm not going to do many other races. Maybe I will, but I know for sure I'll be attending Rock Vegas, and I'll see what I could do then. The prize pool is going to be big, and just going to try to do what I did this past weekend. Just see how it goes, go with the flow, and just see how it goes.
Yeah, so speculation, and I saw it on the comments. I did indeed freeze. Sorry about that, boys. Sorry about that, Jacob.
Norberg Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's a funny way to put it. I am in a college dorm with 3 other guys who are probably doing homework right now, and we have our TV/Xbox/PlayStation running. So I get it, but KC Grid Talk's also going on, so that's more important. I just sent a text out and told him to stop everything else because Jakub Kolar is on the show this week, and we're excited to have you nonetheless. But I mean, Jacob, I guess next for me and to relate it as well, you're a guy who probably isn't as big budget as everybody else, and you've been an inspiration to a lot of kids and a lot of drivers as well growing up, showing them that you are able to do it, you are able to get out there and fight with the best, and for a guy like myself as well who almost yeah, that is true indeed. And you're a guy who's always been there and was supported by a lot of guys, like you said, like Harvick and Eric and stuff like that. Just walk me through how I guess that's been and being in the fight every step of the way.
Yeah, it's for sure not easy, being an underdog in a way and not having the amount of money to, compete and stuff like that. But when, you do have the opportunity and, you do have the good engine and stuff like that, like this weekend, Speed Lab, they gave me an amazing motor to run with. You just got to take the opportunity and you got to do what you can with it. You got to, even though the pressure's on you, you just got to be relaxed. You got to take it easy. Like for me in the first heat of the race, of the weekend, had to rub the rust off. I mean, I didn't do too well. I think finished 9th or whatever, wasn't as aggressive. Had to get used to the yellow tires, just doing K this year. Just had to get used to it. It's not easy, but it does come with time. And I think it, helped towards the end of the weekend. Just each session, each race, just slowly got the rust off and just started being able to be competitive again.
Yeah, and that's also a very good point of always being up there and fighting every step of the way. And as everybody else, they continue and want to see Bullet even more. But the chat continues to go on, and I guess I'll go into that as well, right? You, I think a couple of weeks ago at the SCUSA Pro Tour for the 3rd round, you weren't racing that weekend. You were actually out there coaching and working and turning a wrench for, I believe it was Colin, I think, under NRMS, if I'm not mistaken.
Xavier
here.
Diaz.
Okay, yeah, it was Xavier Diaz indeed. So I guess what's that been like, kind of being a mentor for all those drivers as well, and being there and maybe not being able to go out onto the racetrack like every weekend like everybody else, but also still being able to be there and kind of giving advice and being a little bit of a mentor role at such a young age.
It's for sure different, but I like it. I like being able to help people and just be in the shoes of a mechanic and as a coach or whatnot. It's pretty cool, to be honest. You get to learn, you get to see it from the outside perspective. You get to see the drama, the adrenaline, the emotions, and working for people, it just gives you the opportunity to learn more about the kart. Wrenching, you always learn. And same thing with coaching. I mean, I think this is the 4th time I've been on the wrenches, and I've learned quite a bit, even just racing by myself. Sometimes I don't have the mechanic to do it and just have to, do it myself. Like last year in the IAME Grand Nationals, I had to be my own mechanic and I had to fight through that. But the mechanicking and all that, it for sure helps. And I think, the younger generation, it would be cool if they would start to learn, I know many do already, but to learn about your kart, to learn about it, even just cleaning your go-kart. You could see sometimes there could be a crack that you can't see, or sometimes something could be loose. And it's just good to, be around your stuff. Don't just, sit down, relax. That's always good, but just being around your stuff can help you in many ways.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess lastly here, one of my final questions that I have for you, and something that I really noticed and something that have kind of has come to mind as well. You talked about Kevin Harvick, you talked about Eric Jones, but I think lastly here, Mike Speed as well. That's a guy that you've been pretty close to in the past year. You guys are pitted right next to Speed Concepts. You said you were running his engines. You ran under his tenant for his team as well earlier on this year with the Speed Concepts delivery. Just talk to me about that. I saw you guys shared a moment as well after the race, and he's a guy that me and Alex were able to talk to him not too long ago, and seeing inside of that guy's head was crazy, and it looks like he really supports you. So talk to me about, I guess, your relationship with Mike Speed and how that's developed over the past year.
Yeah, I mean, running with them, they are a top contending team, and for sure have a lot of knowledge of karting. And I really appreciate it. We're how Xander says, the satellite team next to them, and sometimes they even come over for data and stuff like that. And they still give me many tips and tricks, and it's super helpful. I mean, they're with me every step of the way, and not only just using their engines, but just being even a part of the team, like in MCC, for I think it was the second round of SCUSA. It was good to be under a team that knew what they were doing, and it's like a family under there. Even though sometimes I'm not under the team, they still help just as much as if I was. And after the race, they both came up to me, him and Alex Speed, just congratulating me, and the emotions through it. It's insane, and I'm so thankful for them to be helping me along the way.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess lastly here, Jacob, we did it with Ryan, we did it with Pauly. I want to hear what's going on in your life as well. I want to hear what you got coming up, kind of to wrap things up. And just tell me where people can find you on social media, your coaching available at Homestead, or whatever you want to share, man. The floor is yours here for the next 5 minutes to give us whatever else you want the people to hear.
Yeah, for sure. Come follow my socials, at Jakub Kolar 396 on Instagram, and just go look at the Vice Racing page. You can get coaching in Homestead. I can even do coaching in PK. And right now I'm a junior in high school, and my dog's here now. It's pretty cool. You guys want to see him? My dad's here as well. Oh, he's gone. So you guys saw him for a little bit. He's barking and stuff like that. But yeah, junior in high school, and it's going well. Got to focus on school as well as racing. And it's being a kid. You just got to live your life, and it's a lot different being a go-kart driver. You can't, hang out with the friends as much. You got to be a lot more dedicated, especially with the team. I'm there almost every weekend out of the year, just coaching, making sure everything's all right. And I love it.
Well, Jacob, I tell you, man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and it's been a pleasure seeing you develop over the past year and a half as well that I've been in this and doing this. Congratulations on the weekend as a whole. It's been long overdue, and you were able to get it done this weekend at the IAME Grand National Championship. So with that being said, a round of applause for Jakub Kolar, boys, who is finally able to get it done this weekend. Jacob, seriously, man, we appreciate you taking time out of your night to come and join us here. And it's been great to hear about your story. Great to hear about you growing up through the ranks. So, yeah, we really appreciate it, man. And we thank you so much for coming on tonight.
No, thank you guys for having me. It means a lot. It's an honor being on here, saying my story and stuff like that. Listen to you guys speak. And thank you guys so much. Appreciate it so much.
Well, we thank you, man. You're the superstar here. We're just the ones, I guess, putting this on and planning this out night to night. But that was it from Jakub Kolar. Jacob, again, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you, Jacob.
There you guys have it from Jacob. Seriously, great to hear from all of our guests tonight, to say the least. I mean, Jacob, I think by far was the fan favorite tonight. You saw that comment section go ballistic, and it's a lot that we have to go through, and you see everybody kind of ecstatic for Jacob. But boys, what an episode. For episode number 25, we had Pauly, we had Ryan, and we had Jacob, 3 guys that are starting their teams and wearing multiple hats in our sport. So good to hear from them again. It's been episode 25 of KC Grid Talk for myself, Kaleb Vieska, Emory Lyda, and Alexander Searle. It's a grassroots weekend for us this weekend. We're back at MCC, and we're back for the Indy Karting Challenge. And then next week, we go back to the Trackhouse Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina, where the Stars Championship Series gets wrapped up and done and dusted. Again, this has been KC Grid Talk, episode number 25. We'll see you next week. Thanks for coming on.